Hello, and welcome to another Leading Peers Masterclass. I'm Leo Popik, the founder and CEO of Leading Peers. Leading Peers is the premier community for CEOs to connect, collaborate, and grow. In our Masterclass series, we learn from experts with the tools to help CEOs and entrepreneurs succeed. Today, we will learn from Franck Saragossi. Franck is a member of Leading Peers, and he's also a member of the board that advises me to grow Leading Peers. Franck is the founder and owner of Focus Forward, an EOS implementation firm. He has been leading teams for the last 30 years and is just an incredible craftsman at building the right teams with the right people in the right seats. He's helping companies, small and mid-size, build the right team to grow. Franck, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here in this beautiful South Florida day. Before I jump on, I just want to touch on a little bit what I do. I help CEOs and leadership teams get what they want from the business, and it sounds a little bit out of too good to be true, but it's actually achievable. And one of the things I would like to talk to you about today is the importance of people, prioritizing people. I'm going to jump into our deck. And so it's all about making sure that we have the right people sitting in the right seats, and we'll define that in a little bit. The objectives of today really are to understand we have primarily two people issues, and they always come up in organizations, and we want to identify them so that we can then resolve them. There's 5 steps to prioritize people, and then the 5 traps to avoid so that we can get the most out of our people and they can get the most of our association with us in our company. So a quote from Pat Lencioni saying he is the guru of management, of team building, not finance, not strategy, not technology. It is teamwork that remains the ultimate competitive advantage, both because it is so powerful and it is so rare. There's another reason why people are important is because they cost a lot, not only the direct cost of hiring, but actually the indirect cost or direct cost of making a wrong hire. Most studies say that it's anywhere from 50% of the base salary all the way up to 75% of an employee's salary that is at risk here. And that's a huge cost, a huge burden for any company. And as we go through different stages of our economic development right now, we're bracing for maybe a little bit of a slowdown. And getting the most out of our people. If we have 10 people, 50 people, 200 people, we want to make sure that every one of them are, number one, happy and producing to their fullest capacity. And that's what we want to try and do, the prioritizing people. So there are 2 types of people issues, right person, wrong seat. And this is a person that you love to work with. This is a person that is a great cultural fit. They live your core values, but they're just not producing. They don't meet expectations. An example of this that I lived is a sales manager who was a terrific person, was always a go-getter, part of the team, helped out as much as possible. She was doing a good job as a sales manager, but it wasn't her passion. She didn't really want to be there. And we were able to find the right seat for her, which is a trainer position. Another example is the contrary, is a wrong person in the right seat. This is a person that gets things done in your organization, but is not a team player, is not a cultural fit, doesn't get along with people, complains. Usually the source of problems starts with this person. And this is where you have a tough choice to make, because it doesn't matter what seat you'll find for them, they will never be happy where they are. And in those instances, there's a tough choice to make, and that's let them be happier elsewhere, because they're impacting not only your team, but your organization. So how do we fix this? Well, it starts really with number one, right at the beginning, before we wouldn't go out and say we need to hire somebody, is to identify what it is that we need. What are the roles? What are the accountabilities? Where do they sit on the accountability chart? Who do they report to? Who of their leaders of people, who reports to them? What is the compensation? Are they just base? Are they all commission? We need to have clarity in what we're looking for so that we have a higher chance of finding the right person. That's step number one. Step number two is to make sure that we hire for culture first and experience second. So many times we look at a resume and we say, this person seems to have everything on paper. And you bring them in, and after 90 days, you realize this is not going to be a good fit. Hopefully it doesn't take 90 days, but we need to start by hiring for core values. And what that means is that we have to make sure that we ask the right questions to ensure that the behaviors that they have confirm that this is a person you want to have in your company that has the core values. The second is when you want to confirm the experience. You want to make sure that they get it, meaning that they understand what the roles is. So when we've done the work in step one, we know exactly what we're looking for. What are the roles? And secondly, we want to make sure that they're wired for it. So if I'm looking for a sales position, I want to make sure that this person is not only hungry to go get the sales, but also enjoys the process of selling. If you don't have that, this is the wiring part that's important. They don't get it. The second is the wanted, and that's the burning desire to do what they want to do. And if you love marketing, you want to make sure that this person is lives, breathes marketing. How do I connect to people? That's the wanted part. The capacity is, do they have the experience? Do they have the time, the education, the resources to get the job well done? So step two, make sure that we hire for culture first and then experience so that we have a perfect fit. Once we have that person on, we have to onboard for success. We say that first impressions are the most important. Well, it starts with the hiring process also. Imagine a person that walks into a job and is not introduced to people. They don't have the computer ready. They don't know the manager arrives late. They don't know who the team is. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing in the next week, day, months to come. So this is where first impressions are important. How about if you walked into a scenario where the person walked in and the desk was ready? They maybe had a balloon, a welcome card. Maybe they had their computer all set up and they had a binder that introduced them on with their onboarding. They need to be explained what the accountability chart looks like. Who are they? Who is their direct reports? Who are they reporting to? And then they ought to be shown what they're going to be doing in the next 30, 60, 90 days. That sets people up for success. The truth of the matter is that too often I see people that have started and I ask how long, and it's not working out, how long have you had them part of your payroll? And they say, well, it's been 6 months. And I said, what happened to the first 90 days? If people don't shine in the first 90 days, is it likely that they'll shine after that? Probably not. So it's important that this 90-day period is really critical to make sure that we have the right people. And we need to over-communicate. We need to make sure that every day for the first week, certainly, every week after that, that there's a touch point with a manager. Are things going all right? Are you learning? Are there questions? How can we help? So that people come on right. Number 4 is we want to make sure that we communicate and set expectations. We need to have weekly meetings with our teams. And this is a great opportunity to review the health of the business. We review the KPIs, the scorecard. How is the business doing? Are we working on the big major priorities, 90-day business priorities? How are we tracking progress? Are we solving issues? What are the most urgent and important issues to solve today? It's a great opportunity to, number 1, connect with people. Number 2 is solve the issues and align on who's going to do what so that those issues go away forever. The weekly meetings are the first step. The second step is make sure that you set up one-on-ones with your direct reports. It could be 15 minutes. I used to have my management team, my direct reports, on Friday, 15 minutes to touch base. How was your week? Any problems, any challenges? How can I help you? And if everything was good, that's a 5 minutes conversation. If we needed to get into a little bit more problem solving, that took the 15 minutes. So that's another way, just a touch point to make sure that people know that you care, that you're there, that they have a resource, a coach to go to in order to be able to exceed and do well in their job. And the next is a quarterly sit down. How many times do we have the opportunity to actually meet offsite, have a breakfast, have a lunch with your direct report, and get to know them? How things going on? What you like to do? Do you have a family? What do you do on weekends? What are your hobbies? That type of relationship building goes a long way in order to make sure that people understand that you care. And the more you care, the more they'll do for you as a leader. And so quarterly sit-downs with direct reports is another way to communicate well and to set expectations. The quarterly sit-down is also a great way to go over a tool called the People Analyzer. And the People Analyzer makes sure that we have the core values that are being lived, the roles that the expectations for those roles that are being met, and ultimately that we're working towards as a department towards some priority that ties in with the greater good of the company. So that's a great opportunity to really get to know your people well, to motivate them, to know what they get motivated by, and to work towards making sure that they're as engaged and producing as much as they can and they want to in the seats. This is a great quote from Jim Collins. The moment you feel like you have to tightly manage someone, you made a hiring mistake. So I encourage you to think about how long does it take for one to see red flags go up in a hiring process, or when we have people that are not responding the way we expect them to. And this is where we have to move faster than not in order to have clarity on, hey, we're not meeting with the expectations, or the behaviors are wrong, and how do we move forward from that? The last thing to hire right people is to make sure that as a company, you're creating a vision for people to be enthusiastic about. People want to work for companies that have a big mission. There's no surprise that whether it be Google, whether it be Microsoft, whether it be a local, I have a client here who has an unbelievable culture, and they do that by communicating with all 60 of their people on a quarterly basis. And they have a town hall, and they make it fun. They have a birthday. That's a time to celebrate birthdays. Time to celebrate the gamification of their core values that they've done, so that people have fun, and it's a team building environment. The meeting on a quarterly basis should be very much you meet with your team, whether it be virtually or in person or hybrid, where you tell them what happened this past quarter. How did things go? Did we achieve our 90-day business priorities, which are called ROCs? How are we doing in our path towards our 1-year goal or our mission? Then you set the priorities for the next 90 days so that everybody is clear what are the 5 to 7 priorities that the leadership team and everybody that is contributing to the organization is going to work on. The truth of the matter is that this alignment and this communication is hugely important for people. Whether you're out in the field, or whether you're on the factory floor, or whether you're a mid-manager or the leadership team, everybody wants to know that we're part of this journey together. And the more we can transmit that enthusiasm, the more you're going to get people that are going to be engaged and willing to help everybody get the ball going in the right direction. This is a great quote from Napoleon. No amount of money will induce somebody to lay down their lives, but they will gladly do so for a bit of yellow ribbon, highlighting the importance of mission. And the more we can communicate that mission, the more people will be more apt to follow you wherever you're going. All right, so what are the things that I see quite often, and we need to avoid. The first one is we don't have an HR process, meaning that we sort of leave it up to hazard. We don't know how to hire people. We don't think of it as a employee journey, a life cycle. And if we do it that way, it becomes easier to think, okay, we search for somebody. How do we do that? We interview. How do we do that? We hire. We have onboarding. We have management meetings, quarterly conversations. We have annual reviews. And if things don't work out, what's the termination process? All of that should be defined. And really, the person that sits in the HR seat is the one that takes the lead on defining this, not in a silo, but with the leadership team. But the execution of that really falls on the shoulders of the leadership team, the department heads. And that's where they have to be trained. They have to know what the processes are. It has to be documented. They have to understand what the outcome is. And if people don't follow the process, there has to be some consequence to that so that everybody follows the process. The second trap to avoid, not communicating the accountability chart or core values. This is critically important. How do we want our employees? Number one, they should be on the accountability chart. If they're not on the accountability chart, how are we holding them accountable? How do they know what they're supposed to be doing? So it's really important that the accountability chart, which is, by the way, more commonly referred to as a organizational chart, but it's on steroids, meaning that we have clearly defined roles, 5 roles for every seat. So everybody knows exactly what is expected of them, who they're accountable to, and who are their people that are accountable to them. So everybody should be on that, whether it be a outside contractor, whether it be a 1099, whether it be a W-2 for sure, but everybody has to have a seat so that we have clearly defined roles and accountability. The second thing is we have to make sure that every employee not only understand what they're supposed to do, but also the behaviors. And this is where it's so important to reiterate, bring up the core values. And the core values are not things that we just keep on a wall. It's actually behaviors that we encourage every single day. This is how we show up to work. So the behaviors that we want should be encouraged, and they should be rewarded in public, by the way, so that everybody understands, hey, Mary did this fantastic job yesterday, and that tied in directly with one of our core values. So kudos, thank you so much, Mary, for helping the team, living our core values, and that reinforces the positive behaviors that we want everybody to have. Another trap to avoid is not living the accountability chart. So have you ever had a person, or you've been in a meeting where there's an issue that comes up and says, okay, who's going to handle that? And people volunteer. The truth matter is that the right way to do it is you should go according to the accountability chart. If it's a marketing issue, who's sitting in the marketing seat? This is the person that should be fixing this. If it is a logistics issue, then who's sitting in the logistics seat? They're the ones that should be fixing that. So living the accountability chart is really, really important. Another example that I see often is that they don't communicate it, and the leadership team is not living it. We made the changes. We have clarity on what the accountability chart should look like, but the implementation is not there. So it's not a living document, and that's what we want to get to. We want to avoid that trap. Another trap to avoid is managers not holding people accountable. And this is probably one of the more difficult things to do as for managers and for leaders, is that we don't want to have the hard conversations. So but it's critically important to have them, by the way, because if we don't do it, then how do people know what their blind spots are? How can they improve if they're not told what's not working well? So there's a model that is called SBII, which is a great way to sort of break it down to have some kind of structure to how you do that. And the first one is set the standards, remind the person what the standard is of the company. Two is, what was their behavior that fell short of that standard? Number three is, what was the impact of that behavior to the rest of the team? And number four is, what are their intentions? Do they want to fix it? Are they going to fix it? What was their intention of why they did not? They had that behavior, and that goes into a plan of correcting what went wrong in the behavior, so that we can go back up to having high standards. High standards doesn't mean that you have a heart, that you don't have a heart. You should have a heart. However, high standards shouldn't be compromised. So leadership team, oftentimes when we meet with them on a quarterly basis, and we say, how did we do in our priorities? And our priorities haven't been met. And the question becomes, if you're not showing the way on priorities and accomplishing the priorities, how do you expect to hold your team members accountable when they don't do it? So really important to make sure that everybody follows the accountability and are held accountable, because that's a trap that we see too often, having those hard conversations. And then ultimately, leaders have to be leaders, which means that they have to walk the talk. And every decision we make must be for the greater good of the organization, not just my department. I don't live in a silo. We have to break those silos. And when we have legacy people, sometimes we bend the rules for them, and that's not right. By bending the rules, we think that we're helping a person. We're actually not only are we not helping them because they don't know what they're missing and to get better. Number two is that probably if they're slacking, somebody else has to take on their workload. So you're affecting the department, and ultimately you're affecting the department and the company and yourself. So good leaders have to walk the talk and must make decisions based on the greater good of the organization. This is a great quote. Leaders don't just get the message across. A leader is the message. So critically important that we look at our leadership, and unfortunately, we don't have many examples in public life, but we do have plenty of examples of leaders, of people in our communities that walk the talk, that they are the message, and those are the people that we have to look to in order for us to really to model. So if you're interested in getting the tools, on the bottom of the slides, there were quite a few tools that we use. Please scan the code. I will gladly send you the tools, and we can continue conversation. If you'd like to have more information on how to use those tools, please reach out to us. We're here to help you. I wish you a lot of success in your entrepreneurial life, and quite honestly, entrepreneurs and CEOs are heroes, because they lay it on the line every day. They take the risk, and our people are the people that we have to make sure that we prioritize. We have to hire right. We have to keep them engaged so that they can produce the most and that they're most satisfied themselves. A happy workforce leads to a performing team, and that's what we're after. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Frank, for a great Leading Peers Masterclass. For all those of you here present, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can see amazing content like the one Frank just shared on such an important topic. Remember, Leading Peers is a premier community for CEOs to connect, collaborate, and grow. If you're a CEO and you're watching this, visit us at leadingpeers.com. Make sure to send the form so we can help you join us and find the right peer advisory board to grow as a business owner, as a CEO, and create great magic for your organization, for your people. Have a wonderful day.